Good evening, everyone, or good morning if you're in the other side of the world, or perhaps good afternoon. It's certainly evening here in Wiltshire. It's sort of been a really horrible, heavy, rainy day, and I'm glad to be able to sit here with the rain and the storms having just gone over. Just wanted to say welcome to everyone. And as if you have not already joined our Facebook group, then do please join us on there. You do get a lot more information as well. And that is Slow Stitching by Hand with Eleanor Grace. You do need to answer the questions to come in. So please do join us if you want to on there. Those of you on the group will know I haven't been very well this week, so I haven't had quite as good at planning and prep as I usually have. But I just wanted to say welcome to everyone. Do please pop in the chat. Do pop in any questions. If it's not anything I can answer directly now or that I can get to quick enough because my brain unfortunately is still very fuzzy, then I will get back to you with an answer. And also do tell me where you're listening from. It's really nice to know that there's somebody out there. And you can watch this back as well if you want to again. But as I say, having not been too well this week, I'm a little bit brain dead today. So I will keep this a little bit shorter than I was going to, but I will add in an extra session next week, which wasn't going to be there. So I will give you some more information there and a little bit on that later. Good to see you, and do come and share where you're listening from, and hopefully I might get away without a visit from Ella, my black cat, if you haven't already seen her. Oh, she likes to join in the videos. I have tried to stop her. I have got her the biggest cardboard box you've ever seen in your life, which is one of her most favourite things. So I've given it to her in the other room, and I'm hoping that might distract her, but I don't know. With Ella, you just don't know. She's 18-year-old. She does what she wants, so she might come flying in here at some point. Apologies if that happens, but we will try and get on nonetheless with what we've got to talk over today. As I say, there's going to be an extra session next week, which I am going to do because I don't feel quite that I've got the energy to go through everything that I was going to go through this week. And I will give you now the timetable for February. So February is a little bit of a sort of broken month for me because I have got a week's holiday. I have also got some work going on in the house, and I am also doing a workshop in person, which will be really lovely. And I know that a couple of you are coming to that. If you're not in the UK or near to Wiltshire, then, I am sorry. But I do also have virtual workshops which are available. Those are links that I can send you that you can purchase, and then you can have that link forever and you can look at them again and again. So there is always the option there. So as I say, we're going to keep it a little bit brief this week, but it's lovely to see you all. And next Saturday, there is going to be, as I say, an extra session. So it will be going through a new theme for the month, which is also is on the group. So we do a monthly theme. Thank you, Mary, for the comment. I'm not stopping her from coming in. If she wants to join in, honestly, she will. Thank you. You're just down the road, a couple of hours away from me in Solihull. She'll come in, honestly, if she wants to. There's nothing I could do to stop her if she's got a mind determined to do that. What we're going to look at is the timings for sort of the next month. So I can't believe it, but next Saturday is February. January, as always, goes very slowly for most of us. So Saturday the 1st is next week. So at 6 o'clock, I'm going to do an extra session. This one will be recorded just so I can get my brain together. And I will reveal the theme, which will be the theme for the month for the group as well. These themes are just there for you as a prompt, if you like, and you don't have to take part in them, you don't have to do them, but you can use those for your own projects. And in the group we share what we've been working on with the theme, which is really nice. I will also do some more prompts if anyone is interested. They seem to have been quite popular. And so I was going to do just the initial 4, but I think I might look at doing another couple of prompts as well for you for next week, just to give you another idea of where to go. And for beginners, I think in particular, that's quite nice. And also for those of us, sometimes we tend to use the same stitches or work in the same colours. And I think it's nice to sort of go outside your usual sometimes, and try something different. So the prompts will be something I'll carry on with, I think. And then it's going to be mostly Saturdays. So we're looking at Saturday the 1st, which is next week, Sunday then the week after on the 9th. This is because I've got a busy weekend. I don't really have the time to do a session, but I'm going to do a brief update on that one. But I'll give you enough between today and next week to get you plenty to work on. And then I am off for a few days, so I will do another session at the weekend when I get back. So we'll have then Saturday the 15th and Saturday the 22nd. So it's more or less going to be Saturdays at 6 p.m. for the whole of February, except for the 9th, which is a Sunday at 6 p.m. So I hope that's all right for everyone. But of course, you can always watch these on catch up and look at them later and watch them again. But I am going to do another live. I can't do one in February because of my timetable, but I'm going to do another live like this if you like it. I will do it on Saturday the 1st of March at 6 p.m. To unveil what's happening in the final month of this challenge. Towards the end of that month in March also, I will reveal that we'll have another stitch along for April to June. So I hope that's something that you'll be interested in. I'm going to start teasing little sort of ideas of what we might be doing. Again, like this one, it's going to be a multi-stranded thing. So it'll be hopefully something that'll be, you can take part in part of it or you can take part in all of it. It's totally up to you. So today, next steps, ideas. We have been so far looking at our Twinchies. If you haven't seen the previous videos, then I do think it'd be a good idea for you to have a look at them. So Twinchies are just 2-inch squares. You can also, I know some of our group, our lovely Colleen, I think it was, who's doing inchies, which are 1-inch squares. I've worked on those before. My gosh, they are hard. They're so small. And I love that people have brought up their own ideas and we've got together a list of what we're calling all of them. So if we're doing inchies, 1 inch, Twinchies, 2 inches, thrinchies, 3 inches, Frenchies for 4 inches, and Finchies for 5 inches, whatever we call them. They are squares of a certain size. And the original one I worked on a long time ago was inchies. So they were tiny. And I thought that was just a bit too much for us. So we have our Twinchies, and we're going to start moving on to looking at the snippet roll as well. So the Twinchies or your thrinchies or whatever you've made, they could have lots of use outside of the stitch along. So we've looked at obviously doing them on a canvas frame and sort of putting them on there. We've also looked at on the group, you will have seen that I make little squares. I don't know if you'll be able to see that very well. It's very hard to tell where I put this on the camera, but these are just squares with felt. I always use felt in the middle, and that's my preferred thing. And these are needle keepers. So if I'm working on a project where I've got 2 or 3 or 4 different types of needles, instead of having a big pin cushion, I just make one of these. I give these out at my in-person workshops as well. So if you're coming to one, you're going to get one of these. And then I put all the needles I'm going to be using, and so they're to hand, but they're sort of secured. You could also, if you're making a bigger one, these ones again are the small sort of ones I've made for the upcoming workshop. If you're working on sort of probably Frenchies or Finchies, the 4 or 5 inch ones, you could also just back it and make it into a coaster, or as I think it is called, a mug rug. I might be wrong. I think that's the same thing. So you put your drinks on it. Because these are quite washable, albeit probably very, very hot things wouldn't be ideal. Other people I've seen doing various things. They've used them in cards, or they've displayed it in some time. I was thinking about also you could use these as gift tags. I do a version of these for Christmas. Maybe I'll do that nearer to next Christmas. You could also use them, when you get the little brown luggage labels, and you can sort of maybe extend it, not make it a square, but sort of extend it to a rectangle and make them on there. And then you could use them either as luggage labels if you want, but you could use them as gift tags. You could use them, as a placeholder for an event or a dinner that you're having. There's all sorts of things that you can use them for. What we are using them for, obviously, is going to be for our stitch along for the snippet roll. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways of making a snippet roll that I'm going to be doing. One of them I haven't started on yet, so I've sort of saved it for when I got into the 2nd month, because I just wanted to have the time to sort of plan it. And it comes from, actually, the idea has come from one of our members, Fee, who has made a beautiful snippet roll, or is making one, to do with the 4 seasons. And in the UK, we last year were moaning the fact that we seem to have no spring, no summer, and we just had a sort of wet autumnal sort of feel to the whole year, more or less, with a little bit of very, very strong heat in the middle of the summer. And so the 4 seasons is a lovely thing. So there's all sorts of ideas for what you could do with your snippet rolls, but as I said before, we have our prompts that we've done already, and I will do some more of those, and we can have a look at those. So these were some of the ones, if you haven't already seen them. This one, it's actually a bit darker than it appears in sort of on screen, because I'm lit up by my little lamps here to keep so you can see me. This one is one I've made recently, so it's a little collage, and it's just bits that I've snipped off. Actually, these little bows here were actually bits of bits. So I don't really throw anything away. I tend to find most things are usable. I've also done a circles, which was our theme. That is one of my circles. And I've literally just I've drawn around something with a pen that's heat erasable. And then I've stitched around the first line, and then I've just gone in and in and in with that, which I found quite lovely and relaxing. And these ones you've probably seen, because they were the original ones. So we had our themes, which was motifs, so a little motif that I cut out of something else on that one. This one was the lace collage, which is just lovely pieces of lace. It doesn't look so great. It's more cream coloured than it appears on the screen. And this one was sort of using a pattern, but with a very limited palette of stitches and colours. So I tried to keep to sort of 1 or 2 stitches and a couple of colours. And there's that one there. And then this one is hidden circles. So going on the circles theme, I overlapped loads of circular pieces of fabric and stitched over it, so it doesn't really look like circles particularly. So those were the themes we've had so far and the prompts we've had so far. I'm going to show you the 3 types that are going to work on. One of them I will describe, but it will be quite obvious, hopefully. That one is the one I haven't started working on yet. So if you have managed from last week's prompt to try and get hold of a bobbin or spool of some kind, this is one of the little small ones. I also have giant ones like that, and I have a couple in between. This is quite a nice bit of lace, but a nice bobbin there, and another one here. So I think I'm probably going to use this one, although I am quite tempted to do a little mini one, because anyone that knows me knows I work in miniature quite a lot. The way I'm going to do with these ones, which is the newest way, which I haven't sort of given you any idea about yet, is to start off with a bit of fabric and felt, and it's totally up to you how you start these. I'm going to try and display this using one of the ones I've already started making. Obviously, I would make it to the exact measurements of this. So if it is not quite, this is slightly over the 3 inches for this one. So I'd probably make it about 3.5 inches. What you can do, you can affix these in many different ways, but what I was planning to do is to get a piece of fabric and a piece of felt adjoining it at the back, very much like I've done with this one. So it just got felt all the way along the back. And to literally, we're going to attach it like that and then just be able to roll it up. So the actual attaching, that probably will come in the next week or 2, because I'm going to trial it along with you. So this one is one, I haven't done before. But really what I will do is probably have something fairly plain for the bit around here where it attaches, but enough to sort of make it not look too boring if you were looking at it from that angle. And then just to start adding fabrics and stitching and moving all the way down. So that is one way of doing it. And as I say, I might even be tempted to do a mini one. That is only about 1 3/4 inches, I think, or maybe not quite 2 inches. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge, but we shall see. So that is one of the ways that we could make these. You could even, just wrap a bit of felt around it and sort of stitch it together, and then start adding another piece and just attach it at the very top. So we're going to have a little play with this. This is not a hard and fast rule as to how we do it. So the second way that we're going to do, you can do the snippet rolls, is that you can do, as I say, much like I have here, just with a piece of felt. And as you can see, I've already started stitching here. What I've done is just cut a very long strip of felt. In fact, I didn't have a piece wide enough, so I've had to chop it and get another piece to sort of finish it off. I don't really think that matters particularly, as long as they're fairly well joined up and they're sort of stitched in place. I don't really think it's a problem. What you've got to remember is that for these ones at the end, you are going to cover the back. So it doesn't really matter what you do. And as we all know, as I say many a time, the art of slow stitching is for you to enjoy the process as much, if not more, than the end product. I know that's a difficult thing for some of us, but it is the benefits that you're getting from slow stitching that's the most important, and the beautiful thing at the end is to me secondary, but rather lovely too. So I've made a start on this one just to show you. What I did is, as I say, just started off with the long strips of felt, and I had a long piece of fabric that my mum, as a quilter, had chopped to make something with, and then she didn't use it, so I nabbed that and adjusted it to my dimensions and attached the felt on the back. And then I started literally just adding my these are Twinchies, but I started adding my panels onto it, and just as you can see, I've just put them in place at the moment with a pin. But when I get onto the next piece, what I do is a baste or tack around the edge, and sometimes even across the middle if I feel it needs it, while I'm doing all of the work on it. And obviously I can take the pin out at that point. It makes it a little bit easier to work with. So I've done a few little ones here. I thought I'll show you. I'm working slightly outside my usual colours, but these are sort of colours that I do love, and I wear these a lot, but I don't necessarily stitch with them as much. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a sip of water. Right. So this is my colour scheme. It's all very lovely, teal and green and blue. Colours don't quite come up as lovely as they are. This here is a lovely sort of teal, almost peacocky, but it's more of a teal than a blue. This is a very dark teal. It's very beautiful. This is a sort of soft to medium blue. And then I've got an emerald green. And I've got a cream. And that's my colour scheme. I tend to go, as I've said before, I tend to go for odd numbers. I think depending on the size of the piece you're working, 3 or 5 is usually, it's right. It usually tends to be right for me anyway. I've had a lot of fun doing this. Haven't got that very far because it is a 3-month project. So I'm sort of taking my time. I've started off here with just using a stitch, and this is sort of along the lines of the pattern, and there's limited stitches. I've used all 5 colours in this, but I've only used 1 stitch apart from a little bit of back stitch or a little bit of running stitch just to join the pieces together. So I've just used a chain stitch. And this is a lovely bit of batik, and it's gorgeous. And I've more or less followed the pattern with the stitches. The pattern was a slightly different shape, but it goes well with the stitches. And I love this. I would like to actually make another one of these and just frame it and look at it as we do crafters. This one is a little bit difficult to see in the with the light. But this was lovely. This is a motif, so I've done a sort of motif one on here, and this is a lovely piece of a bigger, I think it was a tablecloth, and the fabric underneath was a sort of, it looked like the sky. It was blue, but with little bits of white here and there, and it made me think of the sky. So I've done this one as a motif, but I've just followed the pattern of the actual piece, and I've added in some French knots, as you can see, but all of these are sort of stripes that were on the pattern. So I've tried to keep the pattern, simple as possible to recreate the original one. One thing to say is I started off doing something else with different colours. My original thought was sky, but then I sort of went on a tangent, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I know we say perfection is not a requirement here, but if you really don't like it, just rip it all out. I did it again, and I'm much happier with that. So this one is circles. So as you can see, I've got lots of different circular or more or less circular pieces, and I've used all sorts of different stitches here, some of which I haven't shared or haven't taught anyone how to do because they're quite new to me, like this one here, which I can't remember the name of, but I will look them all up. And this one is a woven wheel down the bottom here. It's a spiderweb stitch here. That's a chain stitch in a circle. And this I made up. This was quite nice, actually. I was going to do like a version. This is another batik with lots of dots and circles. I don't know if you could quite see that. Some are circles and some are just dots. And I thought I wanted to do like a really circular stitch, but I couldn't find any in the stitch directories or anywhere. So what I did was made up, I don't know, somebody's probably done it before, but I made up my own stitch. So what it is like a chain stitch. I left it quite loose, and I finished it off as you do with a chain stitch, with 1 stitch over the top. Then I came back and I pulled the side out and stitched over here, I pulled the side out there and stitched over there, and I stitched over at the bottom just to make it look the same. So I really like that. I don't know what I'll call it because I'm sure it's been done before, but let's call it a hoot chain, something like that. And so I was trying all sorts of different stitches. That was my idea for that one, but I wanted circles. So I've looked up every stitch I can find that's circular. There's probably more, but I ran out of space after that. Joanne, thank you for the lovely comment. But yeah, the feel of the fabrics and stitches, that is almost, to me, that's almost as much of a joy as it is for what you do with it. You know, some things are very tactile. I mean, for me, French knots, I love them. I know some people struggle with them. I have got a video on that if you haven't already seen it. I've got a technique that works for me, and I used to struggle with them. But yeah, they're so tactile. And I think, you know, there's lots of memes going around about us collecting all our stash, as you can see behind me. I've got lots of bits here, got boxes of fabric, you know, but that is part of the joy, is just looking, maybe even sniffing your fabrics. Oh dear, I used to do that with my wool when I crocheted a lot. But yeah, it's that's part of the, and this is lovely because you have got lots of different stitches here, and it does feel very tactile. The other thing I was thinking that might be good, and I have mentioned it before, I think, for one of these, is if anyone has a family member or a friend who has dementia and is sort of you know, sort of further along in their journey, you know, people make all sort of fidget toys and things like that. Wouldn't it be lovely to have one of these, especially for somebody who may have stitched or may have, you know, made clothes or something? Wouldn't it be lovely to make one of these where it's really tactile and it's pretty and they can feel it and they can enjoy it and roll it up? And, you know, I think that'd be lovely. As a nurse, that really appeals to me. So I've got other fabrics. As you can see, some lovely, more batiks, all sorts of things here. And Mum has given me some of these lovelies. Some of them I've taken out of my stash. So I'm working on a slightly different palette. And if you're going to make more than one of these, like you're going to try more than one of the ways of doing it, then do try and put yourself outside your comfort zone a bit. Do try a different combination, because although I wear all of this, as you can see in my top, these are the sort of colours that I wear a lot. I don't stitch with them all the time. I tend to go pink and green and cream and neutrals, and yeah. So this is one of the three ways that we're going to put these together. So just to summarise on that, a strip of fabric backed with felt, and then made to, obviously you want to make it to a dimension that works for you. It doesn't matter how long it is. Some people go very, very long. This is, I mean, this is less than a meter. This is I can tell you actually, it's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48 inches. I have to try and work out roughly what that is, but you know, it's a couple of feet, a bit over a couple of feet. Yeah. I don't know. I don't really work in inches. I'm a centimetre scale. So that is one of the ways we can make it. With it will have a backing at the end. So don't worry what your stitching looks like. It's that end. Back of mine. Oh, it's a lot going on there, but that's going to be covered. So that's the first way, is to do, and you could do these different lengths. If you want to make one that's smaller because you're testing it out, then, you know, do that. But some people make them very, very, very long, which is lovely as well. So it's really up to you how long you want to make it. You want to make it, if you're going to roll it up, if you're going to do it in that way, using the bobbin or whatever, you probably want it a bit longer because you want to enjoy. So this sort of length would be good, or even longer. Actually 48, I've just worked out now. Sorry, my brain isn't working. It's 3 foot. 48 inches is 3 foot, isn't it? Yeah, so that's 3 foot. So that's the first way you can make them, and I'm doing one of each. So if anyone else wants to join me, if you haven't got the time or you just want to do a little one, absolutely fine. So backed a bit of long strip of fabric backed by felt, and do remember that your strip needs to be the length of the inches, twinchies, thrinchies that you're doing. So I had to make sure it was divisible by 4, because otherwise you're going to have half a bit at the end. If you wanted to make it a little bit longer because you want to attach it using an extra piece, that's absolutely fine. You can always cut it off at the end if that doesn't work for you. And what I'm doing is with this one, I'm treating each of these as separate. So some of them are going to have a border because they need it. This one doesn't need a border. As you can see, it's quite well sort of firmly stitched in at all points, so I'm not going to bother putting any sort of border on it. And neither did I with that one because it had little French knots all over the place, but this one very much needed it. These sides were flapping up and down, so I did a little running stitch around it. Blanket stitch also is good. You can do anything really that you like. So that's the first way, is to do it with a strip of fabric backed by felt. The second way, as I said, was the bobbin. So again, it's a similar thing, but you might want to have a bit already wrapped around at the start, or you might want to make your piece slightly wider to fit the bobbin, slightly longer to give you that extra wrap over so you can attach it firmly. As you all know, I'm not a fan of glue. You know, it's not environmentally friendly, and I'm a pretty fierce environmental champion. So I try to use recycled everything. You know, if you ever buy from me, you'll have recycled packaging and so on. But you know, if you want to glue, that's fine. But I tend to think it would be better to try and stitch this, if you can, to try and secure it on, if you're going to be using a bobbin. So we'll have a look a bit more at that next week when I have a brain that functions properly. Just having a look at the chat. Joanne, you've had a lot of interest on holiday from people who remember their grandmother stitching in and out. Oh, I love that. Yes. Do you know what? There's I don't know if there's a embroidery like stitch in public day, but there's a knit in public day. And when I used to crochet a lot, I once made from a pattern by a wonderful woman called Pops de Milk. And she made a Death Star from Star Wars, and I bought the pattern. Actually, I think she gave it away free. And I was stitching. I was going to visit a friend who I was going to give it to. It was about that big, so it was quite sizable. And I was stitching the last bits of detail on it because I sort of ran out of time while I was on the train up to London. And there's these 4 Japanese young tourists, men, and they were sitting a bit further up the train. They kept looking back at me, and I was thinking, what have I got something on my face? Like, why are they staring at me? And they were sort of, smiling or laughing and sort of like. And then eventually I caught one of them. I caught their eyes, and he goes, "Death Star, very good, very good." And I thought, oh, brilliant. So yeah, it is. Maybe we'll, if there's not one already, we'll set one up, national stitch embroidery in public. I don't know, something like that. Wouldn't it be nice? So anyway, so we got our 3. I'm going to get my brain back in gear. Apologies. We got our 3 ways of doing it. So we could use a bobbin, and we could attach it with a piece going around. You can also do the simple, just a strip of fabric backed by felt. Start applying your Twinchies, whatever. Or there's a third way as well, which is again slightly. So grateful for my mum, because not only is she a big inspiration, but she also has lots of lovely bits that she gives me. And one of these was a piece as a quilter. I'm sure some of you that will have pieces that you started or bits that you had left over. And this was a long strip of fabric stitched together by hand, because she doesn't do machine quilting. I'm not a mad machine fan, but that's just me. And she had these little inserts where certain fabrics were already in there. So I think this one was already attached. Just have to look on the back to make sure. That one was already attached. That one was already attached. And this one was already attached. And I thought, this isn't quite square, so it's not going to be like a square. But why does the snippet roll have to be square? It doesn't. As I said, with the with the bobbins, you could make it rectangular. You could use these on. You can make some rectangular ones to use, as I say, on luggage tags, and make a little gift tag or a little something or other. So I thought, why not add to this piece, which my mum has beautifully hand stitched together, this very nice piece here. And why not just add on top of this? So it's got no felt on it at the moment. I'm just stitching into fabric. That does make it a little bit harder because the fabric hasn't quite got the strength that it has when you have felt. And so I'm sort of going with this as an alternative. So especially if you have bits that are already stitched together, or if you want to do one that's rectangular instead of square, this is just another option. So I'm using the same colour scheme. I just decided I was going to use the same for these two. And I think I'm going to think outside the box for the other one. But I've started only just a little bit on here, just to show willing, really. And here I've just started with some, these are chain stitches, but I've done them in a zigzag pattern in order to catch the edges of each of the pieces of fabric. And I just think it looks really lovely. I've not seen it done before, so I don't think I've invented it by any means, but it looks really nice. And then here I've done, I've stitched these together because these were all loose bits of fabric here. So here I have done Pekingese, is this Pekingese stitch? I think that might be sham hem stitch actually, or sham herringbone hem stitch, which is something I find I might have just made up. But these are things that I generally, I've done videos on most of these, or they're in my workshops as well. And the next one was a running stitch here, which I've done. I've done a woven, so it goes in and out of the running stitch, which looks really nice in a different colour. It's very hard to show these up on screen. And then in this one here, I've just put them together with single fly stitches, which is one of those very underrated stitches. I love a fly stitch, not quite as much as I love a feather, but I do love a fly stitch. And this beautiful bit of lace here, I'm pretty much going to leave that as is. I'm just going to do a very gentle, probably in the cream, I'm going to do like I did with the other one. I'm just going to go over the pattern a little bit just to sort of put it together. And then I have all these different ones to look at. So I've given myself quite a lot to do, especially if I'm looking at doing a third one as well. But thankfully, I've got a week off this month, as I say, so I'll have a bit more stitching time. So for these ones, you, again, can just add in the pieces as you go. As you can see, I've got pins in all of these. So they are just going to be added to bit by bit as I move along. But that was just a slightly different way of doing it and a different shape. So if you, particularly if you're you know someone who's a crafter or who's a quilter, particularly like my mum, it's great because you get these little Brucey bonuses, little boncellas, and then you can make use of them. So it's a slightly different way of doing it. And the other thing to say is that there are lots of ways of displaying. So if you can't get hold of bobbins, I know I'm in the UK and it is pretty easy to get hold of bobbins. If you go to vintage fairs and you go to car boot sales we have, which is a bit like, I suppose, I don't know what you call them elsewhere, but we actually turn up with our cars and we all sit in a field and sell things from our cars or from a table at the back of our car, like yard sales and things like that. If it's hard to get hold of these, and I know in some countries, I know some of the group have said it's really hard to get hold of these, then don't go for a bobbin, go for attaching to something else. I've got all sorts of things in my stash. I've got bits of driftwood. I've got like wooden dowling rods, like just very thin round wooden rods where you could just maybe make some loops and just hang it, because if you don't want it unrolled all the time, even if you're hanging it up, there are ways of closing it off and finishing it off. So you could either have it to hand and just open and have a look at it when you want to, or you could hang it, roll it back up, or just have it hanging loose as a display thing. There's all sorts of things you can do. And of course, as I said, You've got your canvas as well. I've also bought a bigger canvas. I've bought one that's at least twice this size. I don't know, might give that a go as well. But they certainly, the Twinchies, this is 4 by 4 inches. The Twinchies go really nicely on here. And canvas, again, I wouldn't glue it myself, but that's, you know, personal preference. Canvas is quite, it's okay to work on. You do need a sharp needle. And you need to be aware that the edges won't be adhered unless you're sticking glue on, which, you know, again, I'm not too mad on. But you could do a few little stitches just to get these attached, literally just here and there in the corners, or as far to the near the corners as you can. The one thing to remember with canvas, I don't know if you've ever worked on it or stitched on it. Once you made a hole, you've made a hole. And if you try and go back through holes again and again, it starts to split the canvas a little bit. So it is a matter of just doing a simple stitch in and out here and there. There we go. This, I think, putting the 4 original ones that I did, I don't have anything in my, well, I don't have a lot of things in my lounge that show that I'm a crafter. Most of my stuff's in here, which is obviously partly where I work from. So I'm thinking I might attach these. I might have them hanging next to my, about an arm reach away from me. I've got a wall and it's got very little on it. So I might start putting some of my little makes on there so I can just literally look at them and enjoy them. That's another option, is to put them on canvas. And I have worked on canvas and it's not too bad. But as I say, if you're going to do it, just do a simple, almost like a stab stitch, almost in and out of the same hole, just moving it a tiny, tiny bit, and to put them in place. If you're like me, not keen on using glue. So there's all sorts of ways we could use these, and there's all sorts of things we can do with them, as I've said earlier. So I hope that was helpful. And hello to those joining us now. Yeah, sorry with the time difference, Australia, Lynn. You know, it's early morning for you, and it's summer. It's you know, so I hope you're able to catch up on the rest of it. Joanne's going to make a zigzag book from hers. That's lovely. That's a really nice idea. I'd like to know more about that. I think we've got a bit of that on our group. So if you haven't already joined, then come and, you know, come and see us on there and see what we're doing. And so Pepper, you've got, oh no, you've lost both of your finished Frenchies and feeling defeated. No, well, the kitten took them. I'm sure Ella's been in contact with her, hasn't she, and told her what to do to get in the middle of everything. I'm really surprised Ella's not made an appearance. I really thought she was gonna come and help me out. I'm sure next week when I do the next video, I'm sure she's going to help me, because she usually sits in here most of the time, and it's really weird for her to be in the other room. So I've had a bit of respite today, but I appreciate there are some of you who were quite desperate to see Ella. I'm sure she'll make an appearance next week, and it'll be when I've got my little, when I got my phone, when I'm doing it over the top, so you can see my hands and actually see the pieces more easily. And that's when she really wants to come in on it with her whiskers and her paws. Oh gosh, she stole a pearl-headed pin as well. That is a bit dangerous. These kittens, I don't know. I mean, Ella's 18. She's technically not a kitten, but she is still my kitten. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully, hope that was helpful. And I've actually gone on for a lot longer than I thought I'd be able to. So thank you all for bearing with me. It's been it's been a bit difficult to get my brain in gear. And yeah, it's lovely to see some of you on here. And yeah, do do please comment, or if you've got any comments or any anything you want to ask, then that's absolutely fine. And I will see you next week for the next installment. One last thing I wanted to say is that I don't know if any of you know this. I have posted about this on the group sort of once or twice, because I never believed that I would be a YouTuber of any kind. I'm certainly wouldn't sort of call myself a, YouTube creator, influencer, or whatever they call themselves. But I was persuaded by the group to look into having a YouTube channel. I've had the group now for just over a year, and I'm really grateful for all of you. Just wanted to say thank you for your support. The other thing I wanted to say is that I have reached a milestone with YouTube, which is very hard to do. I don't know if any of you know, but in the 8 months I think I've had this channel, directly from the channel, I've earned 0 pence, because that's how YouTube works. You have to reach certain levels before you can earn anything. You know, not that I'm particularly thinking I'm going to take over the world, but it is a bit frustrating. But the amount of support I've had from all of you, and particularly in the last couple of months with the introduction of the stitch along here, I've suddenly reached a milestone with YouTube, and I'm not sure what to do with it. So I thought I'd ask your advice here. And if you're watching this, or if you're watching it live, or if you're watching it later, I'd be really grateful for your feedback as to whether it's something that I could do, or whether it's something that I want to do or you want me to do. And what it is that you have to have had many hours of people watching your videos. So thank you to you all, because I've reached the point of being able to offer a YouTube membership. I've sort of slightly looked into it, but I haven't really, because I don't really know exactly how they work. What I do know is that it is something that you can provide extra content that people who don't sign up as a member and pay a small fee per month, you get extra perks. You get maybe extra videos, you get extra support, you maybe get a special event that only you could come to. You could possibly get extra discounts, say on my Etsy shop, you know, and I know I try to keep the postage costs down for all of you, but I know if you're the other side of the world, if you're on Australia, New Zealand, America, it is expensive to get things posted. So yeah, I'm just interested in feedback about whether anyone would be interested. What they generally recommend is that you have like at least 3 tiers. So you have one that is very, very reasonable. Not that I would do any that aren't reasonable, actually. I just wouldn't be interested in that. But you have one which is like a basic level. So I would say, like, if you're thinking of the Olympics, which of course I love, gold, silver and bronze. So bronze might be like you get a 10% discount on my shop, you get an extra video a month, you get maybe something else. And then the next level up, silver, would get all of that plus whatever. And the next level up, gold, would get all of that plus. You'd get, you know, you'd get more. It's something I'd have to think about, whether I could commit extra time to do, you know, because I obviously am working as well. So I have 2 jobs with this. But yeah, I just thought I'll put it out there, and I'll just say thank you to all of you, because not only did I reach that level, but then within a week and a half, 2 weeks, I got, I'm now a quarter of a way to the next level, which is ads, which, you know, I'm not particularly keen on having, but on the other hand, I feel I've done 8 months of YouTubing without making a penny, so to speak. So it's just things to think about. So I'm really grateful for all of you for your support, and I hope that if you haven't already joined in our Facebook group, then you might think about it. It's a lovely group, really supportive. You get obviously a lot of support from the other members. I have a wonderful moderator who helps me, Sandy. Yeah, anyway, that's something to leave you to think about. And oh, Pepper, you've got Pepper and I, you've got a lot of extra work, right? Okay, that's interesting. I don't really know. You see, I've not really looked into it, because at the moment I haven't had the time. But it would be getting extra things, and you know, whether it's worth it or not. Yeah. we shall see. Yeah, Joanne, as I said, ideally it'd be lovely to be able to move on to doing more and being able to offer more. But to do that, I'd probably have to go down a day in the other job, and at the moment, obviously, can't do that. So yeah. Anyway, something to leave you to think about, and I really would appreciate your feedback. So if you want to put in a comment, I'd really like to know if anyone else has had memberships, have they found it useful? I'm not here to make money just for money's sake, but on the other hand, I provide a lot of free content, and I could provide a certain amount of more content, and it might be worth something that I think about, but keeping it a reasonable amount, so you're not shelling out too much. Anyway, we will see what happens with it, but thank you all. It was lovely to see you, so to speak, and yeah. Oh, thank you, Joanne. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've got to look after myself. Apparently her name is okay. Lovely, thank you, Pepper. Yeah, that's that might well be helpful. I'm just looking into it. It's just an idea, but I am actually, I've spent so long not being anywhere near the total, and suddenly I've reached it, I've surpassed it, and that's all down to you guys. So thank you, and I hope you've enjoyed this. You've got an idea now of the different options we can use in making the snippet rolls, but maybe you don't want to make the snippet rolls. Maybe you just want to make some twinchies, Frenchies, whatever they are, and that's absolutely fine. You do what you want to do. And I've just realised that that cat is there. My that was my brother's. He, as many of you know, he passed away just under 2 years ago, and I've got one of these, but he had the black and white one, so I've took him on. I thought I'd keep him looking over my shoulder just to make sure that everything's going okay. Thanks everyone, and take care, and I will see you again soon. Okay, bye.